Welcome to World of Marketing Podcast, a Foster Web Marketing production. Here's your host, Tom Foster.
Well, everybody, here we are, Tom Foster and Trent Semler on the World of Marketing, and we got a cool show for you today because today we're going to talk about some content generation tools. As everyone knows, or maybe you don't, so you will now, content is the most important thing that you can do for your website. Content is the meat and potatoes, the blocking and tackling, the foundation, the fundamentals.
You see, that's the problem with the game today. No fundamentals.
Whatever words you want to throw in there. But it is the most important thing to do for your digital marketing. SEO is not. SEO is search engine optimization, optimizing your content. So you can't have SEO without content. You got to start with content. So Trent is part of the Foster Web Marketing Services team that does marketing services for our clients. He's pretty new on the team. He's not a new marketing guy. He's been around for a while. He's like our resident genius I've newly discovered. So Trent, thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to spend an hour with me to educate some people on this stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me on.
So we always talk about, in our marketing growth plan, the number one thing on the marketing growth plan is content. And we do our perfect client exercise, which is designed to create the avatar for where you want to get more clients like this avatar, more cases from this avatar, gives you ideas. A lot of times we'll say, think of the top, questions that this avatar client asks you. But that's tough, and so that's good to do that. You want to do that, but you've come up and shown, and people might know of these tools already, but you've developed some great use of some tools out there to help with these content ideas. Right?
I have. Yeah, and I'm happy to show them here if you want to jump in.
Yeah, if you would, I will shut up after I've set this up now, and if you would be so kind as to show us how you do this, because I was blown away by this when you showed me how you do your workflow. So go ahead, please. Thank you.
So unfortunately, I want to talk about a couple of boring things first, and the reason why is because whenever you see these tools, it can be really easy to get all excited and you just want to get straight into the tools and start using them. However, I always recommend that people start with keywords, and maybe, many of our people already are well familiar with their keywords and all about that. But with that said, I think a lot of people should just start with the Google Ads keyword planner, because what that's going to tell you is the types of words that people are looking for, how competitive they are, how much volume you can expect to get. Because if you go and you jump into these other tools, you can be completely misguided. You could find what you think is a good idea, but there's only 2 people looking for it a month, and that might not do you any good.
Good point.
So if you go into Google Ads and you pull up the keyword planner, which anyone can do this. You don't necessarily need to be spending money with Google to use this tool. I think there might be a little bit of a data limitation if you're not paying Google, but you can use it nonetheless. So whenever you go into your Google Ads, you're just coming up here, and then under Tools and Settings is your Keyword Planner. And the one that we're going to be using for our purposes here today is just this Discover New Keywords section. So Tom, what would you like to get keyword ideas from?
Oh, you put me on the spot. How about, estate planning?
Okay. And then I should also point out you can use a website here. So if anybody has no idea where to start with keywords, you can actually plug in your website and it will make suggestions for you based on the content on your site. So we're going to run with estate planning, and we just click on Get Results. And then you can see what it does here is it's going to show us related keyword ideas as we scroll down. It actually was able to drum up 497 ideas for us. So if we scroll down, you can see here what it's giving us is the average monthly searches, and it's also giving us the competition level. So ideally what you're looking for here is you're looking for words that get searched a lot but don't have that much competition, because the chances of you putting out a piece that a lot of people see are going to be much higher for that reason. So generally what I like to do, there's hundreds of them here. Generally what I like to do is go up here to the corner and just download them and then put them in an Excel sheet, because then I have them on file. I can go through and really pick out the ones that I want to pursue. And these are important because the other tools that we're going to be going through, you want to write these keywords down, because you can use these keywords to plug into the tools, which can then give you ideas about what you can be writing about these subjects. This is fairly new over here on the right, but just to touch on this really quick, they have something called Refined Keywords, and this allows you to go in, and it's in beta, just like everything else at Google, but it allows you to go in and you can, for example, like if you don't want branded keywords, you can just turn them off. So if you only want non-brands, you can leave that on. If you don't want things that involve lawyer, or you don't want other brands, you'll see that as I'm clicking on those, it's actually going to update the results over here on the left. So now it's only showing us 430 of the 497 original keyword ideas. So once you have these, like I said, you write them down, and then you can take those and plug them into the other tools. So really quick, I did mention that this is free. However, if you don't want to use Google's tools for whatever reason, there are two alternatives that I know of that basically give you the same data. One is WordStream. Just go look for the WordStream free keyword tool, and you can plug in your website, or you can plug in just a starting keyword, and it basically gives you the same data. And then there's another one here that is keywordtool.io. And actually the cool thing about this tool is that you can search multiple places at once. So you could come here and you can get keywords from Google, or you could find out what's being talked about on Twitter. So that's handy as well.
Why would you want to use those or not over the Google tool?
Well, it really depends. I mean, I guess it depends on where you typically try to make your marketing efforts. So if you have a Twitter channel and you're curious about the types of things that people are talking about on there regarding estate planning, then I would say come and use this tool.
That seems more complete, that one right there.
Oh, yeah. This is definitely a deeper tool for sure. I mean, you can do more with this. I just have a tendency to go straight to Google because I'm always in there. But you can use this one, really all the same. And from what I understand, it's free. I think it cuts down a little bit on some data. Like, I don't think it lets you see the numbers, but you can still get inspiration here for different things you can be doing.
I like that API access. I wonder if we could integrate that into DSS.
Yeah, I would have to imagine there's probably some pretty interesting things we can do with that. Maybe put on our client dashboards, have you tried learning about these topics, because these topics are what are in demand. All right, so then the other boring thing I want to talk about before we get into the juicy tools is Google Analytics. And the reason I bring that up is because I always think that people should go and look at the things they've already written to see what's working. I wouldn't just go, run off and write something and not take the time to go and look at like what's popular on my own site, because there's a lot of insight here. So I just pulled up ours here as an example. You could go through and you could see a lot of people are asking, is YouTube considered a social media site? So that to me would say, okay, lots of people are looking for YouTube. Like maybe we should consider writing more about that. And then we can take YouTube over into our tools and start digging around a little bit. Just while we're in here really quick, the things that I would look at, obviously the page views, you want to know the number of people that go into that. You definitely want to know the bounce rate, because if a lot of people are leaving from the page, then, what does that tell us? And then we also want to know how long they're spending on the page. If you get on here and you have a piece of content that's 1,000 words, and just as an example, if they're only spending 1 minute and 43 seconds on it, then that content's not engaging them for whatever reason. And you can take that opportunity to go and make improvements to that piece of content, you can also learn from this about what you want to be writing in the future and what you want to avoid writing about, because it's quite possible that really it isn't in demand and no one really cares. And then
that post or that FAQ is a sore subject, Trent. We'll have to talk about another time.
Okay.
Talk about attracting a non-perfect client.
What was that?
I said talk about attracting a non-perfect client. That has nothing to do with what we do. But anyway, it's just funny because that has been one of our top. It's a lesson, really, but it's one of our top pages for years.
Yes. That's not an uncommon thing, in my opinion, where you will see what people are coming into your site for, and almost everyone has some sort of crazy outlier that doesn't even really make sense, but people are finding you. And speaking of that, I just pulled up Google Search Console because for anyone who's unaware, you can use Search Console to find out what people are actually typing into Google and then coming to find you, which again, basically the same thing as analytics. You want to know why people are already coming into the site. And then you can choose to write more about that, essentially. And then also, what I look for is a big difference between the number of impressions and then the number of actual clicks that I'm getting. So is YouTube considered social media? Tom, if we were to write more about that, look at all these extra people we stand to get, right? So obviously that's a bad example, but like pogo sticking. So the idea of people going in and out of websites and bouncing back and forth, we could write more about that because what it's showing up here is that people are already typing that in and they're finding their way to our site. And there's about 3,400 of them, and we're only getting 300. So there's a chance there to write, potentially a more complete, a more, whatever you want to say, article on pogo sticking. So that's the boring stuff out of the way. Now we can sort of jump into the juicier tools. And actually, this one's not super juicy, but I want to cover it. So there's a lot of ideas you can get just straight out of the search engine itself. And so we're doing estate planning as an example. So if we go and we type in estate planning, so of course anyone can go and do this. One of the things that some people might not be aware of is if you scroll down here to the bottom, you can actually see that there are a number of searches related to estate planning. And if you're in a hurry and you just want some sort of inspiration for an idea, it's just as simple as scrolling to the bottom of Google. Now, that's very limited, of course. So there's other things that you can do here in Google. One of them is autocomplete. So if you just start typing in something into Google, you'll see that it's giving us a bunch of suggestions of things that we could potentially be writing about. So that's another good source. Just to sort of like...
Trent, that is based on what people have typed in searches, right?
That's right, yeah, and they feel strongly about it to suggest it to you as the individual because they have a pretty good idea that, hey, they're probably looking for the definition of this, or they're probably looking for an attorney, which we can see here as the number 2. So as another little thing that a lot of people don't know about, you can actually plug in an underscore, and an underscore functions as a wildcard character, which is to say that I want to see all of the autocomplete results that have something before the word estate planning. So you're not just limited to what people will type after it, but you can also come on here and you can find what people are typing before it. So what is fair in a second marriage and estate planning? That's just some quick examples. Now, if you wanted to, and actually, before we move on, I always look at the news as well. So, and particularly if you're writing a blog, because blogs are generally timely, like we're talking about things that are going on right now, and it might not be as much work a year down the road. So I usually will go to the news because I want to know what is new about estate planning. So you just click on the news tab, and then it's going to start turning out news results for you to look over, at which point, generally what we recommend is like, how can you connect your brand to something that's happening out there in the real world, and then you can use this to write a blog, or you can use this to send out email marketing, something like that. Inside of this news section, you can actually go up here to tools, and you can sort by date. So right now it's relevance by default, but you can sort by date as well. And a lot of times you can get stuff that is like under an hour. Just hot off the press kind of stuff. So if you want to be, one of the first people in your vertical to be writing about this and like get the news out to your clients, this is a good way to do it. It's just to go straight to Google News. Another thing that I will occasionally use is video search, and this has mixed results, but it's generally a good idea to come on here and look for this, because if people are making videos about it and those videos are getting a lot of views, on one hand, that means that they're already covering that base. On the other hand, it's showing me that that topic is in demand. So you could take that and run with it potentially, and maybe just put a little twist on it, and write your own thing. Or if you're recording videos, great, record your own version of it and do a better job of it. So just to touch back on autocomplete, there is a way that you can kind of supercharge this, and I use this to save time. So it's not much to look at. It's called Soogle. Hopefully I'm saying that right, Soogle.com. And what this does is it will actually give you the autocomplete results from all of those websites you see on the screen. So if I type in estate planning, it will actually spit out results from Wikipedia and Answers.com. Everything you see here, eBay, Amazon, Yahoo. So this is a really cool place you can, if you're in a hurry, and just see lots of other things that people are looking for as it relates to estate planning. So that's pretty handy.
Wow.
All right. So now we start getting into the fun stuff. So Google Trends, this one's great. If I try to look at this one every morning and just think about my clients and try to connect my clients to things that are going on in the world, basically what this is showing you is just everything that's trending right now. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with your keyword just yet, although it can handle that as well. So if you come down here, you look at recently trending, you see all of these things that are popping up, and then you can click on more trending. So this shows us everything day by day, what people are looking for, and then how many people are actually looking for it. So looks like something's going on in NASCAR. I don't know if there's a way you can connect that to your client, but I go down through these, and if there's some way that I can make that connection, then I will, because I already know that there's a million people out there looking for it. Therefore, I have a pretty good chance to either come up in the results, or I have a good chance for someone in my email marketing to say, hey, I heard about that NASCAR thing, and these guys are obviously on top of it. They're talking about things that are timely, and you have that much better chance.
100%. Yeah. That's something that we talk about all the time, is like connecting to pop culture. What is going on in the news? How can you, in terms of list marketing, connect yourself to your list? It doesn't always have to be about law. It doesn't always have to be about, medicine. It's just really about communicating with your list. And there's a lot of hot topics going on right now, But Bubba Wallace, that's about the Confederate flag, no more at NASCAR. I think he's the only black NASCAR driver. And that's what that's all about. So, that's, all that's going on right now. So,
right.
Anyway.
Yeah, so, I urge people, if you have the opportunity every day when you sit down to your computer, look at this, because there's always going to be a different thing trending. And, if you do this 5 times a week, then chances are by the end of the week, you're going to have inspiration for something that you can connect your brand or your services to. And it only takes a second, just sit down, go to trends, and see what's trending. So the other half of this tool is you can actually get in here and you can explore specific topics. So we are doing estate planning. And what that shows you is a trend over time. And this is relative. So these aren't like values that actually mean anything. It's just relative to itself. So what I learned from this then is that over the past 12 months, which you can do a series of time up here if you want to do like a different range. But what this tells me is that over the past 12 months, that estate planning hit its peak from January 26th to February 1st. And that's referring to in the United States, they're nationwide. So what you can do here is you can actually start to compare different terms, and this is helpful for deciding what you want to use in your writing. So the example that we usually use is, and actually, I'll share the one that I ran whenever I first started with Foster Web Marketing. So I was curious about whether or not people look for lawyer or attorney more often. And if I went with my gut, I would have said more people look for lawyer than look for attorney. But I was actually wrong. A lot of the times, attorney is actually trending roughly twice as much as the word lawyer. So way more people are looking for attorney, and therefore, if I'm going after keywords for clients, I will generally go after attorney first because I know that I have the chance to get double the people in. And then,
add a estate planning attorney and estate planning lawyer in front of those two things. See if it changes.
And yeah, that's the nice thing about this tool is that there is a chance that it will change based on what you're looking up. So in this case, it didn't. It looks to be actually the difference looks like it might even be greater in this case. That whenever people are looking,
that's a big difference.
Yeah. So now the interesting thing, not to go down a rabbit hole, but the interesting thing about this is that we were just talking about Google autocomplete, and if I go and I type in estate planning, Google is going to suggest attorney to me. So one has to wonder how much of this is from the individual and how much of this is suggested from Google. Once they see a trend, they have it within their ability to continue that trend in subtle ways. So as we scroll down here, you can see that you can actually dig into individual states, and you can see, like you'll see as we scroll right, that more people will actually start referring to them as lawyers instead of attorneys, which this one's interesting. In D.C., it's almost a 50-50 split, where in D.C. they're looking for lawyers and they're looking for attorneys. So I like to look at this because if my client is in D.C., then I might have more of a split in the way that I will write content and SEO content out. Whereas if you go back here to the beginning, Kansas, South Carolina, Colorado, I wouldn't even bother with estate planning lawyer usually because 100% of people are looking for the attorney. And another example that I like to use for this too is whenever you're looking for, like if you're talking personal injury lawyers, I came on here and I was looking for accident and crash, and because you hear all the time that, in some states that people are more likely to refer to them as wrecks, which, may be true to an extent, but at the same time, if you plug those into trends, you can see that, usually accident is on top. Now, it looks like there's occasionally a time where there will be a switch. So for whatever reason, in 1 week in February, crash is actually getting searched for more than accident. And it's possible that it could be some other kind of crash. It might not be a motor vehicle crash. It could be, the crashing of a software or a computer. So this isn't like a very specific good example, but
the stock market crash, probably the stock market crash.
Yeah, I can't believe I didn't think about it, but yeah, you're right. Yeah. That is maybe the stock market crash. Yeah, January 26th, February 1st, which actually, I believe whenever we were looking at estate planning is when estate planning peaked. So that's a nice little correlation there that we found. So yeah, I would use this, like if I was going to tell a client to write about something, I would urge them to more often than not use accident, even though a lot of attorneys don't like to use the word accident because they're not actually an accident. They'll refer to them as collisions or crashes. But aside from what a lawyer prefers to say, we need to use the terminology that people are actually looking for. And the data shows us that accident is getting used more often than the other three alternatives.
And can I just add something there that I would even advise to add content that covers all four terms. And the other point to make is that when you're adding content, you want to have a one-to-one, like one keyword per piece of content. In other words, don't try to make too many keywords go to one piece of content. You want to have like one content be the landing page for one keyword search. Like in DSS or WordPress or anything, there's no limit really to adding content to the website. And so you want to just make sure that you're not crippling it by trying to make it do too much. Like a lot of people try to make their homepage do too much. Their homepage is really their brand page, their law firm page, or their company, what their brand is. And all the other pages are for the individual keyword. So I would almost have, in this case, 4 different pages for each one of these things. Do you agree with that or not?
Yeah, I definitely agree with your 1-to-1 ratio 100%. And an example that comes to mind would be, like since we're talking about estate planning, you could have a page that was about estate planning and probate. But I wouldn't necessarily recommend that, because if you want to be competitive for probate, then I would much prefer to see you have a page that is 100% about that topic, and then your separate page over that talks about estate planning. Because people are looking for 2 different things, and even though they are closely related, we want to make sure that we can rank competitively for both of those.
Right.
Okay, so that's Google Trends, and yeah, usually, I believe you said, Tom, this is best for blogging more often than not, just timely information because we're talking about what's trending. I wouldn't necessarily go here if you're trying to write a white paper or a long article or anything like that. It's not really the right tool for that. But yeah, that's Google Trends. Another one here that is fun to use is Google Scholar, and this is actually searching directly inside of publications. So we'll go ahead and type estate planning in here. And you can see there it actually put trust in for me, even though I didn't want it, and it continues to do it. Oh, isn't that interesting? Okay, there we go. So I'm getting publications that include estate planning. I'm also getting patents and citations. So the handy thing about this is if you're going to be writing an offer and you really need stuff that is like up to snuff, makes sense legally, all of that kind of thing, all of this stuff has been published. So you can go here, you can get inspiration about the things that have already been published. You could potentially even use this for citation if you're going to be writing a really long piece of content. But the nice thing here is that these things have been published. Chances are they're real, they're true, that kind of thing. And that's the big difference between this and just doing a Google search, is that these things are in some sort of publication. So moving on to FAQs, which I think are probably my personal favorite kind of content. And the reason I say that is because Google has been talking for years about micro moments, which for anyone that isn't aware, a micro moment, according to Google, is where you're in the midst of something that's happening in your life and you turn to your smartphone. So you pick your smartphone up and then you rely on it for some sort of problem usually. So you could be doing your dishes and you could notice that there's a leak under the sink, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to go to your smartphone and you're going to start looking for a plumber in your neighborhood. So that's just an example. But people rely on their phones for all sorts of things, and generally it is based in question format. So where can I find a plumber, or who's the best plumber around, or whatever the question might be. So with that, and then also with the rising trends that we're seeing in voice searches, where people are driving or they're busy, they don't feel like typing something in, and they just pull up the voice search on their phone and they actually talk to their phone. So last I heard, that was somewhere around 10% of all of the search volume right now, and I expect that it's going to continue rising. So if you want to get ahead of the curve on that, the time to start is now. And how you do that is by answering all of the questions that your potential customers are going to be asking their phone. So these next couple tools are very specific to FAQ-related content. So the first one here is Quora. And this is actually pretty similar. A lot of people have heard of Answers.com. So you could use Answers.com, you could use Quora. But really the way that this works is you just come onto the site and you type in a topic. So we're doing estate planning. And what it'll do is it will turn up any of the questions that people are looking for within a certain time period. So usually I come on here and I'm looking for stuff that popped up within the last day. So how can a lawyer help in estate planning? Why should I hire an attorney? Just a couple of examples there. And you don't necessarily need to do the past day. You could go and dig through the last week of questions if you wanted to, but it's usually a pretty good place to go and find out the types of things that people are looking for. And the nice thing is you can see how many people have actually answered the question as well. And that might actually help you write your piece of content, because you can come on here, you might find an answer that explains it in a way that you might not have thought to do. So you can find inspiration for what to write about, and then also how to write about it, because there are a lot of professionals on here that take the time to answer these questions. So moving on, this is one of my favorite tools. This is SERPstat. And
it's a great tool.
Yeah. So this will do a lot of the things that some of the other tools we were looking at do. So you can actually go on here and you can do research for your keywords if you want, and that's fine. Usually what I use this tool for, if you go into SERPstat, and you do have to make an account, but it is free. I believe everything we're talking about today is free, if we didn't already say so. So this SERPstat, if you go in, you make your account, you go into content marketing, and then you go to search questions. And what this does is it will actually show you the questions that are based around whatever keywords you're plugging in. So you went to your Google Ads tool, you found that you really want to write content that revolves around estate planning, and then you come in here to SERPstat and you search. So it actually will break it down by the types of questions. So it will do what, how, why, do, does, when, and so on and so forth. But I mean, you could go through here and you could probably find inspiration for, any number of pieces of content that you're going to be writing within, the next couple of months. So there's great information here, because we know that if it's listed, that people are looking for it.
Like,
and a lot of
a ton of FAQs right there that anybody can add to their site.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just brilliant. It's just fantastic idea generation. And we're on a very, very basic level, just estate planning. I mean, like what you said, probate, elder law, and, getting into the nitty gritty of estate planning or any area of law. You can see how you can dig deeper and deeper and deeper and just come up with volumes of content. And this is based on, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is based on actual searches. Correct?
Yeah. Yeah, this is based on what people are actually looking for. So it doesn't show us the numbers, but usually what I do when I'm done coming up with all of these ideas is I'll actually go back to the Google keyword tool at the very end, because I can take some of these questions and some of these other keywords that I'm finding, and I'll plug them back into the tool, because then that will tell me how many people are actually looking for these things, at which point I can decide, is it worth my time? So, great tool. Very similar to that tool is Answer the Public. So we're going to do estate planning here. And there is some overlap here.
What's with the face? What's with the face?
I have no idea what that's about. I just ignore it and search as quick as I can. So there's a lot of overlap too between this tool and the last one, but I still will use both of them because number one, you will find some different stuff here, and number two, I just like the way that the information is presented with this tool. This is the kind of thing where I would happily share this with a client and say, hey, if you need inspiration for something, go use this tool, because the way that they output it is beautiful. I mean, it's just a nice thing to look at. You could print this out and put it on your wall, and you could have FAQ content for the next 6 months, that actually nice. But the way that this is presented is very similar. It's broken up into what, which, why, who, where, and you do kind of have to turn your head to read it a little bit, but I'd say it's worth it. So, yeah, there's some good questions there. You can go through, again, it's FAQ inspiration. It also goes into prepositions, which can sometimes be, they're not actually presented to you in question format, but you can still find some things here that you may find value in. So if people are actively looking for estate planning seminars near me, then, if I was in estate planning, I might say like, hey, I should probably put some seminars on because people are looking for these things. And maybe I should advertise them on Facebook and just throw a couple bucks at every one, and maybe I'll get some leads out of that, But yeah,
let me interject something in here before I forget, because I think it's a really important point. As you know, Google just did a update to the algorithm, and this, as usual, took everyone by surprise. I think they made some kind of subtle announcement about it, but it went after thin content and duplicate content, which they're always talking about, but they really went after people this time. And thin content is defined as content being, what, less than 500 words?
Yeah, a couple hundred words would be thin. Yeah.
So just because I didn't want to forget saying it, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's a very important point that when you're writing content that you should make it thick, which is to say, 700 to 1,000 words is pretty much where you want to be. So as you are writing these FAQs, don't just write a one paragraph question, Q&A type of thing, the way that the way you used to do it, which was perfectly fine. But nowadays it's not, and you'll get gigged for it if you suddenly find that you have a lot of de-indexed pages. It's likely because of that. And you can go back and add to those pages and be okay, but that's one of the new rules. Anyway, I just wanted to put that in there.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. You definitely don't want to come and find these and think that you can get away with just writing 200 words on it.
Yeah.
There's a whole sea of websites out there that have all written 200 words about something, and none of them are really any more remarkable than the other one. And if you do that,
right,
you can't expect to rank for anything. You've definitely got to get up above 700, I would say, as a bare minimum. And usually I tell people the more the better. If you can write 2,000 words about something, then more power to you. I think you should.
Yeah, Google will reward you for that. Google will reward you for that. I mean, it shows that you're not lazy. And plus, you don't want to duplicate. Don't feel Google will catch you. And another tool that I don't know if you've got in here, Copyscape. That's another tool that you can use to see if you have duplicate content or people are copying your content. So
right,
that's a tool that we use a lot. Anyway, please go ahead.
Yeah, just to add on one more thing to what you said, Tom. If you're on here and you're looking at these questions and you think to yourself, okay, this is a really good topic, but I'm racking my brain and I just can't write any more than 300 words about this, I would urge you to probably still write the question, because you can put it on like your practice area page or another page just as a resource for people. There's actually something, I don't have an example pulled up, but there's an FAQ schema, which is like machine readable data, where Google, if they find a question on a page, they will actually display it in the results. There may have actually been one whenever we were searching for estate planning here. Yeah, so this isn't like a direct example, but this is about how an FAQ schema would appear. So say, for example, that your estate planning practice area page is ranking well, then if you have FAQ on your page, then there's a chance that Google will actually take that and they'll turn it into this FAQ sort of schema layout, sort of like a featured snippet sort of thing.
Right.
So, yeah, all of that to say, like, if you can't write 2,000 words about it, that's fine. I would still probably write it and just put it on another page. Just make sure that you aren't making a page about too many different things like we talked about before. So I wouldn't write something about produce, and put it on your estate planning page. I would keep everything nice and organized. All right, so the next tool here, we're getting outside of it. What was that?
This is a great one here. I like this one too.
Oh, yeah.
This guy.
So we're getting back out of FAQs now, and we're getting into like if you need inspiration for articles and blogs, that kind of thing. So this is called Uber Suggest. Again, this is free to use. I'm not sure if you need an account. I don't even think you need an account to use this one. So you come in here and you type in whatever it is you're looking for. So we're doing estate planning. And what this is showing you is content all around the web that has performed very well. So you can look through this list and take that as inspiration for something that you could write. I mean, you could write exactly what this person has written and just do a better job of it, or you could do some sort of spin on it. Really that's up to you. But they serve as inspiration, and the handy thing is that you can go over and you can actually see the activity on a couple of social media networks on here, which, as we know, a big part of SEO is how many people are actually talking about you, how many people are talking about your brand. It's already a big part of SEO, and I think moving into the future, it's going to be an even bigger part of SEO.
So is that 11,269? Is that links to it from Facebook, or is that where people have linked to it in Facebook or liked it, or what does that mean?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's shares. So the number of people that actually have did that, which is a great metric to have, of course.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. You definitely want to be writing about the things that people are engaging with 100%. So this is another good tool. And while we're in here, actually, just since we talked about keywords in the very beginning, you can use this tool as well for keyword research, in addition to the couple that we looked about in the beginning. One of the nice things that this tool has that other ones don't is what they call the difficulty. So you can actually go and find how difficult this tool expects you, how much of a struggle it expects you to have to actually get ranked for some of these keywords. And, if you come on here and you're looking at a keyword that you like or an idea and it's, up in the 50s, 60s, 90s, your chances of ranking for it are probably going to be pretty slim. In my experience, these numbers are, I would say reasonably accurate, but it's just another thing that you can go on and look for. And a lot of people will actually say, so you have to log in to use it. But you can come on here once you have an account and you can actually run a filter and say, I only want keywords that are like 30 and below or 20 and below because I want to rank for something as soon as possible. And usually in that process, you can find some more like long tail keywords that a decent amount of people are looking for and just really nobody's going after. So if you write a really nice article about it, you've got a good chance of getting a lot of traffic and therefore potentially leads. So very similar to that tool, we have BuzzSumo. And this one is, it's free to use, but you're very limited in the amount of times you can use it. I think you only get like 5 or 10 searches a month. You used to be able to get a lot more out of this, but they locked it down fairly recently. So this is doing a very, very similar thing. You can see here that I looked for criminal justice. And we'll just do estate planning here too. So it's going to come up. Perfect.
Gotcha.
So just like I was saying, you can use this tool so many times, but
hey, it's not bad to pay these people for their tools, by the way. If you're going to use them, give them some money. It doesn't, it costs money for developers, and just like you like to be paid, we all like to be paid. People like to be paid too, so it's no big deal to it's usually not that expensive. Anyway,
yeah.
Right? I mean,
I'm not sure what the pricing is on here, but I would agree, Tom.
That's a good tool. That's a good tool. Yeah.
Any one of these tools are worth your money. It just so happens all the ones we're looking at are free. So if you're in a pinch and you need some sort of inspiration or an idea, you can use all of these. But the great thing about this BuzzSumo tool, it is going to suggest different things to you than what that Uber Suggest tool does. So you're going to get different ideas from both. And then this one will actually show you engagement across the whole array of social media. So it'll show you like Twitter, Reddit, I think, Facebook, all of those kinds of things. So you can really get a sense for what is popular. And again, to use the Twitter example, if you have a lot of activity on Twitter, then you're going to want to look for an idea that got tweeted a lot, potentially, and then write about that and share it out.
Let's talk about that real quick while you bring up the next thing, because you got to be careful about just doing what you do. Just because you're not on Twitter, because I'm not on Twitter. That does not mean, but that doesn't mean our clients are not on Twitter. Your clients are not on Twitter or on Pinterest or Instagram or Facebook or Reddit. I never go on Reddit, but that doesn't mean that, maybe our next best client isn't on there constantly, or your next best client isn't on there constantly. So you should not ignore these places, these social media websites because of your own bias. And so that's what's great about these tools, is that without having to learn them or be a part of them, they give you some insight into what's going on over there and help you out.
Right. Yep, exactly right. So I got two more here for you. This one is forecast, and I actually found this one fairly recently. All this is showing is the things that are happening from day to day. So this would be handy for, you could probably use this for a blog if you were in a pinch, but I would say this is probably handy for, like, if you just want to shoot your list a quick email, or if you're looking for something to share on social media. It'll show you, June 13th is International Albinism Awareness Day and National Rose Day. So again, these are things that you could potentially connect to your brand. And even if you can't connect it to your brand, it might be a reasonably good excuse to reach out and just touch base with your people and remind them that you exist and that you're aware of things that are going on in the world that essentially they weren't. So it's a handy tool for that reason. And again, it's free. You just come, you look at it, see if you can connect your brand to something, and you're done. It's a quick thing. And then we were just talking about Reddit. I do like going to Reddit to find information about things, because in my experience, there are people on Reddit that somehow find out about things even before they pop up on Google News. So
isn't it true? Like, Reddit is its own universe, and
it is.
And Reddit, I don't go on there, but it seems to, and I think I'm going to spend a little bit more time on there, because it seems to me like Reddit is way more honest. Like, you're going to get the real deal on there. Like, it's not going to be any bent in any political way, like red or blue or whatever. You're just going to get it, and you're going to get a diversity on Reddit like you're not going to get anywhere else.
Yeah, it's
go ahead.
It feels like you're getting it from real human beings. It doesn't feel like it's being curated for you to digest. It feels like a real human being is sharing something with you. And again, like, I see stuff in here all the time, and I haven't seen it anywhere else on the web. So again, this is kind of like the Google Trends thing, except you can go and you can actually, like, specify, I want to know what's going on about estate planning. And chances are, if you scroll for long enough, you're going to find some sort of inspiration about something that you can write about. It could just be someone sharing their own personal experience with this, and it could be something in the news that hasn't popped up elsewhere. It could be anything. But I think it's a really handy tool. So with all of those tools behind us, then, just to sort of recap, what I would like to do at the end is I will take something that I want to run with. So how does estate planning work? So I'll take that, and then I'll actually go back into Google Ads, and I'll plug in all of the things I'm thinking about writing about, so that I can get data on how many people are looking for them. Because you might have what seems like a great idea, but you might find out that it just, the number of people that are looking for it isn't really worth your trouble. Maybe not this month, maybe it is next month. It also helps you get things in order. You can decide, I want to write about the things that people are looking for in demand right now, and then I'll save some of the other stuff for down the road, because I want the most traffic now that I can possibly get. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of a lot of the tools that I will use. And if you go through all of these tools and you still don't have an idea for something to write about, then I'm not sure what to tell you, because usually I won't make it.
So good.
Right.
That's
yeah.
So good.
I won't make it to the end of this and not have an idea about something. And as you said, Tom, we were just looking at estate planning, but there's so many different parts of what an estate planning attorney will do. And, you could have half a dozen or a dozen things that you could plug into this tool. And that's completely independent of the Google Ads tool, because for every keyword that you type in or every practice area, there's probably 5 or 6 ways you can say it. There's a dozen related topics to that practice area, and all of those things can be plugged into most of these tools, where you can see the questions that people are asking and the things that people are discussing around those tools, and what's new and what's popular. So it works for
everybody. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying this works very well for me. If I'm looking for an idea, this hasn't failed me yet.
So everybody should be plugging in their various practice areas and generating all of these content ideas. And this is how you get started. And then as you write out your content, another podcast that we'll do here shortly is the SEO tool, where you use the SEO tool or an SEO tool to help optimize that piece of content for these particular keywords. So one is, okay, I want to be found for these keywords. This gives you the ideas. But then obviously the content has to be optimized appropriately, not over-optimized, right? Not over-optimized, but appropriately optimized for that particular keyword. And so that's a whole nother ball of wax. That's a whole nother a lesson that we'll get to. All right, well, Trent, thank you so much for spending some time with me and everybody to go over these great tools. Many of them are free, and if not, pay a few bucks or give them your name and email so they can market to you. That's what many of them are just asking for these days. It's amazing. Some of these tools in here back in the day, the early days, would cost you thousands of dollars, and now they're just free, and it's fantastic. And so use them, and don't, like we said earlier, don't be lazy. Don't just write quick paragraphs. Take your time. Your content is the bait. Content is what you are putting out there for people to come to. And you're putting that content out there for Google to find, for Google to index, and you want Google to offer that content to people when they do searches. That's the point. And you also want to syndicate that content to your list through email and through various social media channels that you have. So this was very helpful, and I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And just to add to your point there, to continue the analogy about bait, the more bait that you lay, the more that you can eat, the more that you'll catch. So that's how I see
exactly right.
I'm throwing more and more nets out into the world, and the more that you write that is good and on point with these keywords, the more chances you have of catching people. So, particularly with this COVID situation, if you've got downtime, I recommend you use it to write content, to use these tools and get as much content on your site as you possibly can, so that whenever things get back to normal, there's all the more reasons why people can find you and come to you and hire you.
100%. Content is king. And all of the most successful clients that we have over all the years have the most content and the most robust content. Those are the ones with the most traffic, the most ranking, and the most clients, and the clients that they want. So do it. Yep. It works. Okay, Trent, thank you so much. We'll have you again. We'll have you again soon. I know we have some other stuff to talk about. We'll have another one about pay-per-click, your pay-per-click genius, on how to set up some pay-per-click campaigns for Google and Facebook, and we'll talk about that too coming up. All right, everybody. It's been Tom Foster and my buddy Trent Semler. Thank you so much, Trent, on the world of marketing, and we will see you soon. Happy content writing.